Previously on the Diaries podcast.
Everything. But now I've felt it that no company is going to be great. And if you're going to shift, knowing that, like the job in your, or the culture in your current company is not good and you're going to shift to another company.
Let me be blunt here.
It's going to be like you're going to face problems anyways.
Yeah.
Working overtime is not bad. It's bad for sure. But once in a while, it's not bad. And something like this, when things are getting generalized, it's kind of ruining the culture.
Like on a general basis, what does your daily life look like?
Right. So my weekdays are pretty actually packed. It's more of like my office starts at 8. So I have to be there at office 8. And then something with hospitality industry is that it's 10 hours of work. So it's 8 to 6. So by the time I come back home, I come back by 7:30ish. I look into my personal stuff. Like I have to call my parents, I have to call my friends. Have dinner and then sleep by 10 and then wake up by 6, 7ish.
Okay.
And then go back to office at 8. That's
Right.
my weekdays. Weekends are more of like, so I have a 0 day. So Saturday is mostly my 0 day.
Okay. So like doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
Okay.
And like maybe I'm lying on my couch watching TV, reading a book, not self-help book, more of like a fiction, something like that, like which doesn't have to be like, mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't have to strain you much. Sunday is where I get ready for the week again. So anything pending with Karak Chat.
Okay.
And that's on Sunday. Anything that I have to be ready with for Monday for my work, that's on Sunday. So Sunday is basically preparation, but Saturday is mostly 0.
Let's go to what books you guys like reading, because I feel like you guys would enjoy books. Like I enjoy books as well. Like you don't enjoy books?
I enjoy it, but I just don't read.
You don't read?
Yeah.
I don't fucking read either. I just do audiobooks, man. Like
I don't even do that.
You don't even do that?
No. Because I need to find a perfect voice and just that.
Listen, how do you do research on podcast hosts then? Like
What do
you gotta have like conversations to talk about, like, and then like imagine you're bringing an author, you have to fucking read their book.
No. I'll just read the summary.
That's smart.
Yeah,
That's
read the
smart.
summary
Okay,
and
I
then
did that as well.
Yeah.
Actually, there are apps that give you like a 15 minutes
Yeah.
summary of the whole book, right? Like
Yeah.
I see ads on Instagram, and actually people are adopting to that a lot. Like, they just go by that 15 minutes of summary, especially for the self-help books and financial books.
But do you think like that's like getting into the whole instant gratification sort of theme of life?
What do you mean by that?
Like, you know how everything is like done in 10-15 minutes? So like everything we want is like either a 30-second reel or a 60-second reel, and we don't enjoy the process of reading.
Yeah, true. I agree with that.
Because I'm just self-reflecting as well, because I have a lot of trouble reading. And I can just like, I enjoy listening to podcasts and like whenever I read, I'm like, it's just like probably 20 to 30 minutes of audiobooks.
Okay. If I have a choice, I would prefer reading over listening to an audiobook. Because I don't have anything against reading. I just don't get the time to read. So for me, like when you're reading, it's more like you're also imagining in yourself in terms of it, rather than just hearing what's happening. That's a different visualization when you actually read it yourself to someone else saying it.
Definitely.
So it's a whole, I think, different ballgame.
It's like you're living the bloody book, right?
Yeah. Everyone asks me, hey, we feel like you read. And I'm like, man, I think the last time I read was probably my literature class in grade 9.
Yeah.
I just don't get the time. My friends do give me books and like, hey, just read it. It's on my fridge somewhere on top.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I feel bad.
You keep your books on top of the fridge, mate. Like
That's very accessible.
Yeah, that's like.
I shouldn't have said
Are
that.
you
'cause-
hiding? Are you hiding the books so that people don't ask you? Did
Yeah.
you read that book? Is that what you're doing?
Because when I go to
All
his
right.
place and there are like books on the shelves and
All
everything,
right.
everyone asking, "Hey, have you read this?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm reading." I'm like, "Wow, this guy really reads a lot." And then everyone
Yeah.
asks me about those books, and I'm like, "I don't want that. You know, just come to my place. You want to watch TV, movie,
See,
game."
I'm
and then I go,
psychoanalyzing your
yeah.
life as we speak.
I think I'm analyzing myself right now. Like, wait, what do I do on the fridge? But but I would prefer reading over audiobooks. Again, like you said, you know, now these days everyone's getting in the habit of let's get things done fast, like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Crazy. So it's more like you're losing that whole interest in like the whole process, or like you learn a lot in that process compared to like doing something in a shorter time. So, and yeah, I agree with you on that part. What do you say? You're a reader.
I'm a reader. Yeah. I think the last book that I read was The Almanac.
Okay.
It's a non-fiction book, and it was recommended by someone who came to our podcast.
Is it by Paulo Coelho?
No. So it's basically, yes, the title definitely looks like a Paulo Coelho book, but it's not.
Okay.
It's basically by Naval Ravikant.
Okay.
It's basically a finance related book, gives you
Gotcha.
more insights on how to deal with your finance, and not just finance, like, you know, how to grow in terms of making money and grow in your career. And apparently it's not written by Naval Ravikant.
Okay.
It's by one of his fans, basically.
Okay.
And those are the words of Naval Ravikant. So he has gone to the podcast, he tweets, right?
Yeah.
So like basically
All those tweets.
all those tweets combined, all the podcasts combined, and it has been timelined in a way that you can read it as a book. So I bought that book, but later on behind the book, you see that, you know, it's available on the website for free. Yeah, it's written like that. So I was like, man, I could have just bought it. But then, you know what?
It's like a memorabilia kind of a thing.
Yes.
Like you'll always like, and it's also, I'm not a big like book reader, but there's always like something you could take notes on the side.
True.
That's the part. That's the good part of having
True.
like that's why I enjoy textbooks, because I'd always like scribble the gist of things on the textbooks. But what about you, Ghazala?
I do read a lot, but I read everything that's fiction.
Right.
I do not enjoy non-fiction at all.
Okay.
So yeah,
Do you read
Maybe.
It ends with us, it begins with us?
I'm
and all
not
that crap?
answering that good.
Oh, that's a yes.
That's a yes. I figured.
Yeah.
I figured.
Well, why do you not like nonfiction? You don't like real people?
Yeah, I mean, I read them in reality.
Oh, fair enough.
I find non-fiction a little boring, and I'm like,
Yeah. See,
I don't want to get into
caught that,
reality
right?
at all.
It ends with us, it begins with us. What's her name?
So we just have to hear about
Okay.
what is your week and weekends like.
Week is getting up early, catching the bus because I don't drive here right now. Going to office, dealing with clients because I'm in that like client-facing side of my company because I work in a consultancy company, advisory company, you would say. So that takes a lot. Sometimes to work till 7, 8, maybe 9. But I prefer
Unhealthy.
doing that at home. And sometimes, people at work don't like that. I'm sorry. But yeah, after that, come back home, speak to my parents because they're back home.
Call of Duty.
Sorry?
Call of Duty.
Yeah. Sleep by 2 a.m. Wake up at 6 for prayers. Repeat.
Okay.
Anyways, so weekend, it's just trying to wake up as late as possible. But because of podcast, that's not really helping with. So I sleep by 4 or 5. Or at least wait for prayers till 6, pray, wake up at 10, get ready, do my research on guests at that time.
Isn't prayers at 5?
I wake up towards the end to get an extra bit of hour sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Do that.
We'll cut that part off.
Nah, it's fine. Get the podcast done, come home, and then meet my friends. That's it. Yeah.
That's a very healthy lifestyle. I'm never taking advice from you. How did you guys start the podcast? What was your motivation and inspiration behind it?
Well, my motivation was Zeyan. So I guess I wanted to do something online for a very long time. And I knew for a fact that, not for a fact, because Zeyan had already told me that he did a podcast. He used to do a podcast with his friend before, and then he stopped for a while. And Zeyan already knew that, I want to do something on Instagram, on YouTube. And that's how he came and he approached and he said, let's do a podcast together. And that's why I said, like, my motivation is Zeyan.
Well, that's the nicest thing you ever said to me.
Yeah.
And what was your motivation, Zeyan?
So
My motivation was Vishal.
You were the reason it's happening, Vishal.
All right. Thank you so much.
But anyways, so I think the first podcast I ever watched or listened to was The Runaway Thoughts by Ray William Johnson. I'm not sure if you know Equals 3. That was like a YouTuber back in the day, like the OG YouTuber. And he started a podcast where him and his girlfriend, Anna, they would just like talk about whatever, like anything's going on around in the world. And they would call in guests, different content creators, give them a platform to talk about what they're doing and just discuss, world events with them. I was like, man, this is a good topic. And at that time, I was like, I used to use Twitter a lot. And I met a lot of people through Twitter. I'm like, man, these are interesting people, so many good ideas. I want to give them a platform to talk about. But that time, it was like 2015. I was like, man, I'm too young and I have a lot uni and everything to work out. So I tried doing a podcast with some of my friends. That didn't really work out. Egos clashed. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I gave up this idea. Then during COVID, my friend reached out to me and he's like, hey, let's just do something. I was like, sure, I don't mind. So we started this podcast called The Internet Know-It-Alls, and we will just talk about multiple topics, or we'll have guests on and be like, hey, what are you doing? And not like people who are like content creators, any of the normal people, like if someone's in the field of in the doctor or someone who's becoming a lawyer or psychology or starting their own business. So we do that. And it was just an audio podcast, not a video one. So we'll do it. And we tried downloading different softwares. Audio wasn't working, we just did it on Zoom. Worked out pretty well. Did like 10 episodes, but because my friend was in Pakistan, I was in here. So it was just like timing clash. I got this job and I was like, man, I can't. So I stopped. Then last year, January is when I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, listen, I want to start again. You're a guy who loves being in the camera. You're perfect for this and you love talking. You are made for podcast. I just sell it to him like that. He was just like on and off about it. But again, tell him do a good job at this, he will say yes. And I know he has a talent. He just needs like, push. We did that. And then he spoke to our producer / editor / videographer, Pratik. Yeah. Everything. Like he's the reason it's even happening. He spoke to him, he got interested. And then we're like, you know what? It just started off. And 4 or 5 months later, it's going pretty well.
But that's really fun and inspiring because we've been going on for how many
Yeah, that's the first time somebody's actually inspired by a story.
I've only been here for a month or less.
I actually don't remember.
felt
Was it last year, May?
I don't know. I just joined in a month ago. So
When was I think Dollar Diaries, when was it started?
I don't know when we started.
I think it was June or something. I don't know that.
Last year?
Okay.
September last year.
Yeah.
it's been less than a year then.
We almost started at the same time.
But yeah, so Karak Chat though, so I kind of tweaked my idea because I always wanted to like give people a platform. But now I was more like, okay, let's just focus on the region. Like, whether it's Middle East or just Dubai in general, call people, tell them, talk about your experience because there's so many people out there, especially from like our region who want to know what exactly happens. And they just have this image about this region, which is either true or maybe not.
Yeah.
So I'm like, talk about it. Talk about how you got the job here. How was your uni life? How was uni life somewhere else compared to here? And that was, I think, so far a good idea because a lot of people are able to relate with our guests And that's the feedback we have gotten. We're like, oh, we didn't know this happened in this field. So what we do is we call people in different fields, whether it's data analyst, design, account management, marketing, and different people like that. Cause like, oh, now I can relate to this because someone has been through that. I might go through it. I've been through it. So now I know what to do. So that was kind of the point, and I see it working. So I'm like, okay, I'm happy with where it's going so far. But I feel like there's a lot of improvements still because, again, we're still relatively new.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens in the future.
I mean, there's so many things we're trying to, dissect and make things systematic and make things work as well. So it's like part of any business or any project you're doing. It's like trying to iterate repetitively and making sure like we have a set process we just have to follow, and every time we just have a very nice enjoyable conversation at the end of the day and make the guests feel like happy for having that conversation.
Exactly.
That's our main mission.
I mean, the whole point of podcast is to have like a normal conversation, not like an interview.
For sure.
I guess like I've seen some podcasts where I'm like, man, the guest is just not enjoying it.
Even ours, like if you see certain episodes, like they are like an interview, like, and we've tried our best to sort of like balance the interview part of it and the conversational part of it. So we've had like difficulties with that.
Yeah. What was your worst guest?
That was our question.
Ghazala. Ghazala has been a guest and she was the worst guest.
You're stealing questions from our book now.
I'm sorry, bad habit.
So how did you come up with the name Karak
Chat? Is it Karak Chat or Karak Chat?
Chat.
Chat.
Okay.
Chat, not chat.
That's all Vishal and Pratik.
Okay.
I guess we were discussing it, right? And we were just like, let's have a concept of like, where we are having tea with our guests in the podcast. And because Karak is so famous in Dubai, because we wanted to basically, the whole concept was to introduce guests from Dubai, right? And to speak about the life in Dubai and experiences in Dubai and what could connect to Dubai more than Karak Chai.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things. There are other things as well, but Karak Chai is one thing.
Yeah, and it's a drink like any blue collar or white collar individual would enjoy.
Yes. So that's where the Karak came. And then we were thinking of what do we put with Karak?
Yeah.
Right? And that's where we were like, okay, we were thinking of a lot of names. I don't even remember. We had listed it down somewhere. And then we rounded up to Karak Chat.
We spent like 3 hours on just the name. We didn't come up with anything. Went back home. And I think we just texted, hey, well, what about this name? They're like, you know what? Good enough. So that whole 3 hours was just a waste. But and it worked out. People like it. It's like, oh, it's catchy. It's 2 words. Let's go with it. Yeah. I made the logo on Canva.
Yeah.
I was like, just make it something simple. Worked out. Let's not look at it again.
Just before we get into your podcast, our life mainly is because we spoke so much about Gen Z and us not agreeing. It's because I would say that we are influenced by social media a lot. So, there's a certain image that we see being portrayed about everybody's life, even though we understand that it's not real. But it's sort of the expectations that we try to meet, which is what also reflects into our life, and that the personality that we bring to work. And it sort of sets us apart, if you agree with that, because are you that influenced by social media? Is that a huge part of your life, or is it not a huge part of your life?
Now, yes, I am influenced by social media for sure. But then it also comes to a point when in your life, are you actually influenced by social media, right? Because when I started getting influenced to social media properly was, I think, when I was in my university during that time. And then it kept on increasing after I passed out and I started working, everything, right? But then the current generation has been influenced to it from a very young age. And at that age, if I have to see myself, what was I actually influenced by? I think it was the people around me. It was my parents, or it was the people in my surrounding, because we used to go more out. We used to go, I would say, indulge with people and talk with them on a daily basis. We didn't have WhatsApp. We didn't have that kind of messaging. In fact, even text messages came in somewhere when I was in my 11th or 12th standard. So it was more of talking on the phone, like, not even mobile phones. It was landlines. At that time, we used to have cordless phones. So we used to talk on those phones. So we were basically influenced by that in a young age. And comparatively, the current generation, if I have to compare it, right? Yes, they are influenced more by social media at that age. And when your foundation is being set up by that influence, right? Definitely there's going to be a change in thinking. There's going to be a change in personalities as well. So yes, so answering your question about, am I influenced by social media? Yes, I am right now, but not in the way I would be if I was 14 or 15 or 13, in my teens, basically.
And what about you? What role do you think social media plays in your life?
Did play a major role when I was younger, because 2010 to 2017 is when I used to use social media a lot. I think after that I stopped, because I was, or rather than social media, the only thing I used to use was Twitter. And then when Instagram came up, I started using Instagram. And I have a lot of online friends who I've met in real life too, and some of them are like my best friends right now. So it was different back then, especially during school time to even uni time. Made a lot of friends, connections, helped me a lot. I helped them a lot. And I treated them as like real life friends. And then the idea of getting influence, I don't think that really affected me, because I wasn't really following celebrities. I was following normal people and having normal conversation like we are doing here. So for me, it gave me more of an avenue to just like talk more, be free about my thoughts and say whatever I want. And that's how my personality built up, because even workplaces, like you can ask him, I'm very honest, sometimes brutally honest, which is not that good at a workplace, or even a family setting. So
I mean, that's probably a lesson for me. Like,
yeah,
I have to take for myself.
And because I'll be just whether it's any topic, and I just stopped. And I mean, I got banned from Twitter in 2019 and they gave me like a bunch of tweets from 2015 to 2017. They like delete these tweets in 2 days or deactivate or suspend your account. And they were like around, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 tweets. I'm like, I can't do it. And that was just first list. Yeah. And I'm suspended, can't get that account back. When Elon bought it, I was like, maybe now, because Andrew Tate got his account back, so why not me? No, maybe I'm Pakistani, that's why. But so I stopped using social media a lot. Like I don't post a lot on Instagram. I don't post a lot. I mean, if I made a Twitter account, but didn't really get into it. Facebook died long back. The only post I do is sometimes I just post something about our podcast, or maybe just now the Palestinian issue. I'll just be very open about it, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram, just talk about it, because I feel like certain topics you should, where it really matters, but they're getting influence, not really, because I just feel like it's just useless. Everyone's trying to be something they're not, or trying to impress other people. Not everyone's doing that, but I get that feeling from a lot of people. So I'm like, that's not me. And alhamdulillah, I have friends who don't get that affected by social media. If I don't message them back, they don't care. If I haven't met them 2 months, they don't care. Like, whenever we meet them, it's just the same. So I think I'm in that stage of my life.
Just to understand, because you guys have also been on this side of the podcast, just a few quick questions for you. Which has been your favorite guest so far, and why? You don't have to name them. You can just give a general description.
Yeah. Like favorite for me, who speaks a lot, and I don't have to put much of my efforts. So there have been few of them like who have, if you ask them about A, they would go with from B to C. So they are my favorites.
And you?
Why don't you name them?
I don't have to name
Gohesh, Ghazala, who else?
I don't think I have a favorite. I think the one I enjoyed most was probably one of our guests, Saad, because and I got a lot of good feedback on that too, because it was like a very free-flowing conversation, more different, because he was aware of the questions a bit, but then he also kept like giving us more input about things which we didn't know, because he comes from like the non-renewable energies or whatever, that department, which none of us, or it's completely alien to us. So that was fun. So I enjoyed that, and even the flow of the conversation, that was really nice.
And what was your most interesting conversation in terms of that you couldn't stop talking about it and just kept going and going and going?
Something really interesting, I think it was our first episode, which we had to cut out most of the parts where the guest comes and Vishall asks him, hey, what's your salary? And that was a very,
rookie mistake.
That was I was like, wait, what? Already? We just started. But the way we spoke, and then, the first episode for me was just like an experience, because we came with zero preparation. The guest was like, okay, let's just do it. He had zero preparation. We spoke about football, and then he started speaking about how controversial the football World Cup was. Had to cut out that part because he named a lot of countries. So it was fun. It was interesting. That was like how we learned what not to do and what to do. So that was my favorite one, an interesting one.
And
for me, it was, we had this recently where we interviewed somebody from the HR department, recruitment, and not interviewed, had a podcast with them. And it was quite an interesting chat, from knowing things from his perspective and understanding his life journey and how he was able to be or achieve what he's achieved right now. So yeah, that was quite interesting for me. Also, that podcast was something where we did certain experiments, and it kind of worked out for us. And then we were like, okay, you know what? We are going to implement this from our next podcast. So yeah, that's like a turning. I feel that, like, because we are kind of pivoting in the way we are approaching with our podcast. So our first pivot was that, like, a main pivot for us was that particular podcast for us.
And what was those experiments?
The way we are speaking, or the way I am approaching to certain replies that the guest is talking about, or our sound system, our mic system, lighting. So there were a lot of things, like, okay, what could have worked out for us if we are not actually shooting, because that was something which we shot in the guest's house, not in our place. So we were like, okay, things like this can also work. So if in future, if we don't want to give that extra burden to the guest of coming to our place, we can take things, and if his or her place is better, or if it can be shot over there, we'll take our things over there and we'll shoot it in their place, so that they're comfortable and they're more relaxed when they are talking to us. So yeah, these were some of the things that we learned from that podcast.
And are there any personal learnings that you didn't think that somebody would have pointed out, or you would have noticed about yourself, that throughout your journey of the podcast that you just picked up? Me,
as generally, because I'm so Indian. So even if I speak, and when I think before I speak, I think in Hindi. And then from that Hindi coming out in English is kind of very challenging. So it's kind of weird, but to hear your own podcast, but I go through all my podcasts and listen to myself, so that next time when I'm when I'm speaking to the next guest, I don't repeat those mistakes. Like, it's very simple. One is, our first podcast, I asked certain questions which I should not be asking. I did not repeat it. I did not repeat those questions or those kind of questions in my next podcast. I came up with new mistakes for sure, and I learned about it. And second thing is the way I smile, the way I bite my lips, the way I look at my guests. I've observed all of this
Wow.
in all my podcasts, and I've kept on changing myself.
Yo, you bite your lips looking at the guest, man.
I bite my lips looking at the camera, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. I look at the camera and bite my lips like, no, not even like,
I know.
if I'm looking anywhere, like the way I'm biting my lips and like, so I observe all these kind of things about myself.
So you analyze yourself.
I just analyze myself. Yeah.
And you?
Nothing.
After listening to you, just doesn't have any inputs to give. And how do you generally select your guest?
So the idea is like we want to get someone who has a certain amount of experience in their job force or in their region as well, so they could actually, talk about it in more detail. Because let's say if we get someone, maybe if it's a recent graduate, he or she won't have that much topic to talk about. So we want someone who's like at least had like 4-5 years of experience under the belt. And then second thought is you don't want to call someone who's towards the end of their career. It might be a good podcast, but we are not ready for it because we are just like trying to get or set the platform of people our age or in the coming generation, this coming graduates. So the point is, it's like, the field doesn't matter where they're working at, but it's just like how much experience do they have, where they grew up, have they been in this part of the region for a while or not? Because I don't want to call someone who's there for like 1 month, even though he has like 6 years of experience, but then it'll be like, but you can't really judge this part of the world in 1 month. So just that's the criteria. Other than that, anyone who wants to come on, go with. Or the other part is if you're setting up something of your own, whether it's completely new or not, and you want to talk about it, then you're most welcome to come. Like, I know someone who started a business in the wedding industry, and like they're very new to it, and they want to come to our podcast. I'm like, you know what? That's something different, because that's not you're not talking about your career. You're talking about something you're starting on your own. So come on, talk about it. Tell us how the journey was, where the idea came from. So those two separate scenarios.
Which one of them has been your most challenging episode or guest so far?
Challenging, I would say. I wouldn't call any guest worst guest, because it's more of like challenging. So up to a certain point, I knew how to, I wouldn't take Zeyan into this because, something personal. So for me, it was more of like up to a certain time, we had a lot of male guests. Then we were like, okay, let's diverse, right? And then let's start inviting a female guest. And that was kind of challenging, because the way you converse with a male guest might be a little different to the female guest. And even after we shot the podcast and when we released it and we showed her the podcast, there were certain aspects which we did not know and only a female would know. Like normally a stray of hair was out, which, like, being me, I didn't even observe it during the whole podcast, right? But she observed it. So these were some things that I was like, okay, like, we need to keep such things in
consideration.
Yeah, into consideration as well. And more about the way you ask questions, I feel like more like, you could go, it depends upon personality to personality as well. But the kind of personal questions that you can ask a guest as well depends. And then definitely there is a share between male and then what you would ask your male audience and what you would ask your female audience as well. So yes, even that also would be something that, like, kind of learned during that podcast. So yeah, that was one of my most challenging ones. Yeah, learning ones.
I think I'll combine one of your previous questions about what I learned. How he said he listens to all the podcasts, looks at himself and analyze. I don't do that because I don't like listening to my own podcast or my voice. I can't. Yeah. But for me, and I wouldn't say this was the worst episode because of the guest. The guest wasn't the issue. I feel like I was the issue in terms of hosting it. Because the one he thought, where he thought, oh, we learned a lot. For me, I was like, the guest had a lot of information to give out, and I didn't do a good job as a host to like control the conversation and get the valid points that we wanted as per the format I made. I felt like I need to like fix that about myself in terms of how to control the conversation other than that narrative where it's going. Because again, sometimes the conversation is just going either stretching a lot, which we really don't want, or it's just going completely different page, which I don't want that either.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is something I need to work on. And I think that episode I realized, it's not
Which
as
episode
easy.
is that?
HR one.
Oh, the HR
Yeah.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So-
Well, one of his favorites, one of my worst.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like that because the other guests, or maybe it was a different environment setting because we did it in his place, the guest place. So in our environment, I think it's different. And I'm able to control it more. I don't know what the factor was, but that moment I was like, okay, like certain guests, we need to like put a foot to like, okay, let's just move on from topic. But again, you need to do it in a way you don't piss them off. So that's still an ongoing learning process.
I think we just figured out how to live with our mistakes. Like over inviting guests, we just like, if we made a mistake, we just live with it, release it. If like there's a problem with the hairstyle we're having, like we just live with it. We just release it. If we sound weird, if I'm stuttering, just release it, live with it. That's pretty much what we're doing. Like experimenting and making sure, like I keep making the same mistakes, like touching the mics, saying every time I'm listening. I do repeat those mistakes, but I'm trying to be more conscious about it, more aware about it. So that's what we technically try doing every episode.
But I think that's the beauty of podcast, right? Because it's part of, you're not in like or as Pratik said, you're not in a Netflix production where everything needs to be perfect. Like this is what connects with the listeners.
The imperfections is like what makes it relatable.
Exactly. Like if the mic falls down or you want to go to the bathroom,
someone just comes and like touches up the makeup and then it's caught on camera and you release that.
Yeah.
That will be probably more relatable than like just like perfect makeup, perfect hair, perfect this, perfect that,
I feel like to connect with the audience, you just need that, like, or just show them what's exactly
break
happening.
The fourth wall.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man, keep touching the mic. It's okay.
You'll kill me.
What about you, Ghazala? What's your worst experience?
I don't think, I've only shot with 3 episodes so far. So no worst experiences yet. Yeah. This is just a year where I'm taking as many risks as possible. Maybe 5 years from now, I'll be like, I'll look back and cringe at what I was doing. But
I won't even look back in 10 years. Trust me. I won't like look at these podcasts.
I'll change the question. Who's been your worst co-host?
Guhesh. Absolutely.
There you go.
He's been terrible. And now, especially with this one when he's been all over the place.
What do you mean by all over the place?
The previous one, you were better.
Really?
Yes.
Like as in like moving around?
No, she means everything.
Everything.
Like just how I'm talking?
All of it. I'll take everything into consideration. But then I'll give you the benefit because he was not supposed to host it. So
no, but not only that, I'm just how I would talk to them outside the podcast. I'm literally talking to them in the podcast.
I think he's the guy with the free flow.
Yeah, he is, and I come with the structure.
I think on camera we can say, I don't know when this episode will go out, but this was Gohesh's best episode he hosted, and it was the last one too. So that's why he was in that free flow. He enjoyed the guests. Yeah.
Well, thank you for
welcome, man. I took the word out of your
description. But
I think that was an
I don't
amazing.
think too much. She thinks too much. I will cut her off because she like thinks too much. That's my problem.
Yeah, she has to think. That's her job.
Yeah.
See, that's a job. You have to have that. You have to have that balance.
Yeah.
Like if you are like double down over there, it's the same personality over there. It's not going to work out. That's why I think even with me
our balance is outside. Just like, guys, don't. Or just sending a message, don't ask this, don't do this, please. So that helps. So I think, once he leaves, you can train the other person and be like, listen, just follow my lead.
I'll do that. I'll keep that in mind. But I think this was a fantastic conversation that we had. And thank you for taking your time and coming
This
over
was like
here.
what I was going to cut off. Like I was going to cut her ending our nice flowing conversation. we were having a conversation. She's like trying to end the episode. Like, what's happening?
Right, guys, take 3. Take 3, end this conversation. Take 3.
Are we stopping here? Are we continuing?
End the episode.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me take this time. No, please continue. Take 4.
So yeah, thank you for taking out your time and coming over here. We loved having you as our guest, and thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Yeah. So where can we reach you guys? LinkedIn, YouTube,
You guys can
Instagram.
reach me out on...
You can reach him out right now, like give him a handshake or something.
Yeah, so you can reach me out on LinkedIn. So my name is Vishall, and it has a double L, so not many Vishals are with double L. So you can find me out easily. Full name is Vishall Vopana. Or you can reach out to us on Instagram through our handle, Karak Chat.
And you?
Just reach out to this guy.
He doesn't want to be bothered.
Yeah, I mean, just search up my name. If you find it, lucky you. If not, don't worry. But I would just subscribe our podcast as well. Listen to it. Give these guys a good review, and subscribe or follow wherever you guys post it. And I don't know, show us both support, and yeah, follow Vishal because he really likes that attention. And also our Instagram account.
Yes, I do.
Did you say he likes that attention?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I do.
Yeah, that's a good quality about him. He can handle it. I can't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
why are you looking at me? You're like same
thank
pinch
you,
here.
and a huge shout out to Horizontal for giving us this place to host the podcast. That's
Thank you. See
It
you.
cut out.
Ciao.
It cut out.
No, it got caught over there.